It rained overnight. In Texas, the skies are bigger. This morning, I'm thinking about a lesson that I had to learn that I think I knew in my head, but I realized I didn't believe. The belief is this: you can do everything quote unquote right. And if I have my theologically particular brothers and sisters with me, obviously I'm not saying you're perfect, but the Bible talks about blamelessness, or not having done anything intentionally wrong. There not being anything that you feel guilt about, or that where you overtly were breaking some command of God, or there was no known wrong. You can do everything quote unquote right. And this applies to lots of situations. It can apply to disagreements with friendships. It can apply to parenting. It can apply to business. Lots of things. You could do everything right and still have a poor outcome. And I didn't realize how much I was giving head assent. Oh yeah, I know that's true. But not actually. Hello, chicks. Hello. The one that ran back in the corner, her eyelid is closed, and I've got to look into if it's even possible to take some sort of razor blade, or I don't know, that sounds really dangerous, but somehow open up her little eye so she's not unable to see her whole life. Or he. They were serving. So I realized, this is something my counselor helped me see, was you're still stuck in a pattern of self-examination, because you are scouring, trying to find where you did wrong so that you can assign blame or accept blame and make everything right again. And life doesn't always work that way. But there are times when you're not guilty and yet you suffer. There are times when you've parented the very best way you know how, or made decisions the very best way you knew, and things don't turn out. And I didn't realize that essentially when I was hitting that belief and struggling with it, that one of the reasons why it was a struggle for me is because there was a wrong belief in my head. Do right, get right results. I didn't know I believed that. But my surprise and hurt once it happened to me showed me that actually that was functionally what I was believing. So I kind of had to remake. Oh, hello. Hello. I had to re-examine my beliefs. I can't tell you how sweet it is to see all these little chicks running around the yard like they own the joint. I didn't even know that I was believing that. And once I could identify that that's why I was stuck, that was so helpful. I'm so thankful that she helped me see that look, you guys, there's a little tiny egg here. Look at this. And the baby must have come out. That's weird. The other half is not here. It's just a teeny tiny little egg. I think one of the challenges for Christians that puts them in a position of vulnerability or likelihood of being mistreated is that we do cultivate over years a propensity to believe the best about others, to cover sin and forgive it, which are good characteristics, but they can also be exploited by people who want to use those things to their own ends or want to make it so that you are always the problem and they are never the problem. It was important when I could put into words that false belief because it freed me. I was in a mode of, if I could just do something different, if there's just something that could be explained, shared, gone back to the beginning and talked through, whatever. Life doesn't always work like that, and people's motives are not always what they claim. This was one more big thought from counseling that helped me. My counselor said, when you're confused about people's motives, don't listen to what they say. Look at what they do. And that will help you determine what their true motives and intentions are. And that was so clarifying for me. So clarifying, because then I started to see I may not know the full expression of what those motivations are, but I can see that the things that I thought were driving this were not actually, and that the things that were being said were not actually the motivations that were happening. So that's helpful. And I just encountered the same idea yesterday. I was listening to an interview between Joe Rogan and Bret Weinstein. And I listened to Bret Weinstein. He's an evolutionary biologist, obviously comes from an entirely different worldview than I do in many ways. And yet, because I perceive that he is a man of truth and integrity, he truly does seem to desire, pursue, and celebrate what is true, that he often ends up in very similar places to where I do mentally, even though I'm a Christian. So I was listening to that interview, and at one point I had to pause it and re-listen to it a couple times. But he sits down and talks about, I think it's a cybernetic principle. So I think maybe there must be multiple cybernetic principles, but he talked about this particular cybernetic principle, which is, if you want to understand what a system's goals are, don't look at what the proponents say the goals are. Look at what it achieves. I think I'm saying that right. So if you want to understand what a system's goals are, don't pay attention to what it's supposed to do or what they say it will do. Look at what it actually achieves. So he was using that in terms of, he had some actually really interesting thoughts about how part of the division that we see happening in America is to the politicians and the media advantage, and not to the obviously to the benefit of the population, and that is by design. That those two powers, the political class and the media class, are using the division and stoking the anger, so because it benefits them. It gets more clicks for the media, it gets more votes for each particular. It's a lot easier to sell yourself as a candidate if you have really bold things to say that sound absolutely standing on principle. It's harder if you're like, the other side has some good points, but here's where we disagree, and it takes 2 paragraphs to explain it. It's a lot easier if you can be really mad and emotional and angry about this thing and get your base fired up. So I think he was using it in terms of, look, the system that we have is achieving certain things, and so we need to think through which elements might need to be altered or edited in order to move forward in a way that is actually where peace is achievable. But it was a very similar principle that if you want to look at what hidden motivations there are, look at what is actually done. I don't know if that'll help you. Maybe you're in a difficult friendship or a circumstance at work or something going on with a child and you're trying to figure out what is the thing here. Maybe that principle will help you. I don't know, but it helped me at a critical moment in my life, and it's helped bring peace to my soul alongside scripture, alongside other things that my counselor shared with me. But that one epiphany moment was huge for me. All right, I got to go start my day. I've got to finish up my writing job. So I'm going to go get that done, get some coffee.
We're back to 100% capacity. Which is crazy because just this last week I went to a coffee shop and half of their stuff was still closed off. So I guess we must have just crossed the threshold. Kind of exciting. Maybe crazy. Texting crazy.